Welcome to Not Silent Podcast. In early 90s, Bosnia and Herzegovina became Europe's deadliest conflict since Second World War. 100,000 people were killed. Sexual violence was systematically used as a weapon of war. Tens of thousands of women were raped and thousands of children were born from that violence. My guest today is one of those children. Her name is Ajna Jusić. She was born in 1993 in the safe house in Bosnia and Herzegovina, unaware of the truth until she turned 15. But rather than remaining silent, she became an advocate. She is the president of Forgotten Children of War Association. Her work was internationally recognized, from Peace in Progress Award to the U.S. International Woman of Courage Award. Ajna's voice is a call to remember that rape is not a private tragedy, but a weapon of war whose impact lasts for generations. Thank you, Ajna, for being my guest today.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for invitation.
Growing up in post-war Bosnia and Herzegovina, what did you notice most about how society treated children like you?
Oh yeah, let's say it was sometimes really hard to go with everything. But what I also notice is that when children are discriminated, the base of discrimination is always about mother. Credibility of the mother, discrimination against the mother, telling the really bad words about her just because she bring a child without father on the world. And also, I think that uh, beside there is also this fragment of children being called as the children of enemies. When it's not too bad when you are young, when you are a child, you just want to play, you just want to have fun around. But when you're growing up with this information, it's something that hit you in one moment when you are starting to think about what is going on. So I think that from my personal experience, I was always protected by my mother and my stepfather, and on the end of the day, I had a good childhood. But those bad days in schools happened, and that's it. But also for some of my friends, it was much tougher. Friends from the association, friends from Bosnia, it was much tougher for them to, let's say, survive the childhood in this specific interethnic areas and areas where children are really not accepted.
I'm from Kosovo, and also in Kosovo, there were 20,000 women were raped. And as you've mentioned, also for those women was very difficult. They were not seen as a victim since we started raising awareness, and they were excluded from the society. So you've been an activist today, and carrying all this in that environment in the Balkans, which it's really not easy. How can you describe me as much as you feel comfortable deciding to be visible from invisible?
Yeah, that moment it is something that is let's say kind of family decision. It's not some that I didn't decide myself like I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna do the job. It took a while of conversation, hard conversation with my mother and my stepfather, and also professional support to each of us and to us as a family to understand differences in identities, to understand the differences in my need as a child, her need as survivor, and also needs of my stepfather, who was directly involved in this story. Even he didn't survive or born out of war, but when you are around the survivor and children who are born of war, you have to be a kind of target in society, like why did you marry this woman, why this child is in your house or something. So yeah, that was really important to emphasize that it was family decision, and the moment where I um, um, spoke up in society. It was a sense of responsibility and also sense of cutting this discrimination. Like someone has to stop it, and I just saw that society will not stop, country will not do anything, and I didn't think that it is fair to live like that in those conditions, and it's not fair to listen that my mother is guilty, that I'm guilty, because on the end of the day, I know the story, I know the truth, and I know that we are not guilty for all these circumstances in our life. So yeah, it was also coming out process. It was also something prepared. I prepared myself as much as possible, and also I knew that if I go out, it's not gonna be for nothing. That from that I will build something for personally for myself, and also that I will try to build something for others. And very happy that we did it until today, that situation is changed in some directions. But yeah, bottom of line, it was hard moment, and it was moment in which you just realize that you spoke up, and every single person that you lied about your origin and identity, they just found out, because lying about your father, not telling the truth, the people around you, because it's a shame, your fear, it's something that you choose as a method of living, and it's not the best method of living, and you have to just decide which direction you're gonna go further.
It takes a lot of strength and courage. Can you share with us just challenges that you and other kids face in that environment?
Yeah, yeah, you mentioned it. Courage, yeah, courage is really important and much needed. And also, I think it's important to say that knowledge is really important, because um, when you are in society where education is not on good level, when you are in internet country where we still don't have unique book of history, where everyone blame others, when perpetrators are free, they're around you, you don't know their faces. It is hard, and you are child born out of war. That means that you are unrecognized. There is no any kind of law in our state that in that moment that provide us any kind of right. There is no anything that we can use to protect ourselves from discrimination. In most cases, you are completely invisible in your family, in your society, and when society or families found out who are you, they found out about your origin, that means that you are rejected by them, which is also in all these. It's hard when you are growing up in these kind of circumstances, and when you need to form your identity, when you need to form yourself as a person. It's not easy to deal with such adult, let's say, matter, to understand why you are rejected. And I think it's also not knowing the real facts about war, not having concrete material to read, because every time when you want to read something, when you want to understand something, you are always in front of the wall with so many different colors. Everyone talk on their side. There is no something unique. And also, in these conditions of growing up, risks are just multiply. So on the end of the day, there is a lack of education because you cannot afford it. There is, um, as a children, we moved a lot. It's not unusual situations. Mothers sometimes just decide to move from the city to the city to find the best place for their children. There is a children with a social issue, with emotional issue, with the relationship issues. It's social economical issues also. It's, when you don't have adequate support, and also when you are in family that do not support you. In my family, I had uh, pretty nice support from most of my family. Uh, on the end of the day, it can be just challenging. It can be challenging, and it can be moment in where child form some kind of psychological issue, mental issue, some kind of trauma, because we didn't survive the war, we survived after the war. So we are not, when you ask my mother, she's always going to tell that dealing with the past start in war. But when you ask children, most of the children, they will point out on some peer violence in school, on some rejecting from the family, and it's hard for children to understand what is going on in that age, in that period of their life. I think, yeah, that's most common issues of the children, and something that has to be treated in adult period of their life. And yeah, I hope that we can support those processes.
You,
And yeah, I just wanted to add also, they are the children who are not aware of their origin, and sometimes they are facing all these things without even um, notice what is going on, and some of them are still living without knowing the origin. And we met some of those children. There are always assumptions like maybe I'm born out of rape, but you don't know that until you get any kind of confirmations. So it's confusing. It can be really confusing till today.
you mentioned you were lucky to have family support, and there are so many that they don't have. Can you share with us some forms of discrimination the women, the mothers that they face? As some of them, as I know from my country, they were excluded from their own family. They have to live in the same house. And can you share the forms of discrimination that women in Bosnia and Herzegovina face after the war?
It's the same. It's the same in a way of being discriminated, being targeted, marginalized, and also being, um, um, their credibility is always in question. Like, she did that to herself. She asked for it, and I'm a bit angry about that because it's something that we, as society, repeat in the peacetime, and I'm so angry because they survive wartime rape, and it's pretty clear that it's not her decision, and because there is no person in the world who wants to survive rape, and generally war as an event is not something that they made a decision to want to be in. Um, family rejection is something that it's really often, or there is something that it's silent in a family. They don't want to start a fight, but there is a clear rejection, even not talked about. Um, I think also so many survivors here in Bosnia, they can still obtain the status as a civilian victim of war, but they are afraid of their husbands, they are afraid of their family. Family told them that it's not an option for them. They don't want that shame, and it's not something that happened 10 years ago. It's still happening today. They cannot exercise their rights because family are against that. And I think it's bad because family cannot understand all these needs and their what is the survivor's sense of justice. For some survivors, justice is to have that say status. For some is to put perpetrators in a prison. It's all different kind of their wishes. And what is also really specific, and I believe that it is a case also in Kosovo, there is this man culture in institutions, and it's like like very high patriarchal
Yeah.
system, and they are not supported inside of the system. They are not supported by the decision makers because they have this um, view on women that they are just machine for reproduction and that's it. And I think it's bad also because they have to face kind of man violence still in the peacetime. And I don't know how is that, but I think it's devastated for them. For children, uh, we are young, we are educated. So many survivors didn't have opportunity to continue their education, and also for us as a children, when we um, interact with the decision makers, is a bit different because we are young, we know what we want, and we still can build some empathy on the fact that we are just children. And that is something that is not case with the survivors, unfortunately. And because of this man culture, understanding of man culture inside of the institution, so many rights provided for survivors are not fulfilled. They didn't obtain those rights because we don't have money, because some man in some room in some municipality thinks that she doesn't deserve that because he heard from someone in the village that she didn't survive. And maybe for listeners it's going to be funny, but it's a reality. It's a reality that we are facing with. It's not like that countries like Western Balkan countries like um, we do not follow law like it is written. We follow law, but by our social norms and by our thoughts, what we think about anything, like by our opinions. And that's, I think, it's huge problem in our countries that it's about patriarchal system and that everything is in power of this system.
It's as you've mentioned for international audience. So, uh, e- even though in Western countries they are trying to raise awareness about the rape as a weapon of war, in our countries these women are not seen as the victims. They are also excluded, and when it comes to psychological support, it's not even questioned. It's not even discussed that they need
It's not.
psychological. Not at all. You in 2015, you were young when you decided to found an organization, Forgotten Children of War. So what inspired you to move from personal experience to public activism?
Yeah, just this small correction. I'm not the founder, I'm the president
Oh,
of it because my motivation lies in the fact that I met Dr. Amra Delic. And she is the first researcher on the topic of the children born out of war. For me, that was huge because I'm also a psychologist. I know what are the values of research. It's kind of proof of someone's existence, and my motivation was everything that I just said, all about me, myself, my mother, my stepfather, about society, but also the strength that I had in that moment was connected with the fact that I met other children born out of war. And in Bosnia it was a bit hard because when I found out that I'm born out of war, I tried to Google it and to find some more information about these children in Bosnia. I couldn't find anything. So having opportunity to be in the same room with the young persons who shared the same story, it was um, huge for me. And I think that we all got strength for activism in that moment because finally we found each other and finally we could share the story and have someone who completely understand it because it's I have to be honest, when I talk with the people, being born out of rape, it's a kind of weird identity. It's not something that is more welcome in the world. It's not something that everyone can relate with. So it was nice, and it was the momentum.
How many children from your organization that you have numbers? What are the numbers of children born out of rape and women? If you can
So
share.
we don't have numbers. Our association started with the 33 members, but We have members like children born out of wartime rape. We have members whose father were peacekeepers, soldiers. We have children whose fathers was humanitarian workers, and also children born from the forced marriages. So it's different kind of children. Official estimates about survivors, it's 20 to 50,000 survivors of wartime rape, including male and female. And for the children, the only estimate that we have it's like 2,000 to 4,000 born children out of rape in Bosnia, and there is no even official data, official estimates on the peacekeepers' babies and humanitarian children. Um, and that's something that we just need to make peace with. It's lost case. We will never find out the number, but um, on the end of the day, personally, I don't care about number. If you have just one person surviving all this, it has to be changed.
Have these children been physically attacked?
Yeah, I mentioned so many different things and about, violence. It can they face with the peer violence. That's something normal. Yeah, we have one member who published a book about himself and his story. He described violence as a child just because he was born out of wartime rape. And also what is really specific, what most children remember during the childhood is, let's say, administrative discrimination, because, as I mentioned, we are really patriarchal country, and every single child was faced with the question, what is your father's name? Because father's name is one of the main identification item in all our official documents. It's like in your health insurance, in school, everywhere you need to have father's name as identification, which is um, really funny because we do not have any law who state that father's name is identification item. That's something that we as a society produce as a norm, and that's something that children were exposed during the childhood, and some unfortunately still in some cases, because we had this one parent name initiative to change those things in our institutions. Um, yeah, and I think it's that's the moment when personally I I felt discriminated, and I was discriminated so many times just because of this question. Because it's weird to tell that you don't know, and when you tell them that you don't know, they are trying to mock your mother, like, does she know how you don't know, bastard, or something. Those things again can be really hard and confusing for a child, and especially for children who were not aware of the origin. When you are aware of your origin, like myself, after my 15 years old, when I was 16, 17, I was, let's say, a bit stronger in my answers. Like, it's not stronger, I just decided to fight because I didn't know how to react. But when you know that you are born out of rape, then you want just to protect yourself and protect your mother, and to find a way to answer. Because maybe just to quickly explain, uh, I'm one of the child who moved a lot through the cities, trying to fit somewhere in some society. So in one moment, my father decided to leave me in Zenica again, that I go there in medical school, and I was there, and I was not happy in Zenica because of the same things. And then I decided to move here in Sarajevo as a capital. Um, and first day in Sarajevo, they asked me about father's name, and that was the moment in which um, I knew that I will change that. And when I mentioned knowledge from the beginning, it was moment in which I decided to you know to have a knowledge to understand how to work inside of this society. And Dr. Amra, she came as an angel, I don't know, from heaven, and she offered this huge opportunity for me to meet other children. And then they elected me as a president. And, all these things are connected, and it's kind of, it was destiny for me to came here and to start this.
We were talking about younger generation should be more open-minded, but we see also younger generation being uneducated. And we see, especially among the men, the more aggressive, they're more patriarchal instead of being more open-minded.
Yeah. It's, my generation and few years after my generation, it's that kind of situation, and I cannot lie to anyone. I see that, I felt that people around are crazy. There is so many factors on this moment of how they feel of this maybe aggressive moment because, wars, inflation, prices, injustice, and you have, in my generation also, we cannot forget that there are so many children who were raised without father because someone killed father, and so many children so many youngs are still angry because something was, killed, someone was killed. And I think that my hope stays in this Gen Z, these really young generations, because I feel when I talk with them, when I work with them, I feel that they have bit more empathy and they are really smart, way smarter than me also because hey, they have technology, they have everything to access information. And I think that my personally, my responsibility is trying to cut this intergenerational circle of stereotypes, prejudice, and negativity around some specific ethnic group. We should, uh, I'm trying to build with them human right language, and I'm trying to build a concept of responsibility that we are all equally responsible in how society gonna be. Everything that happened to anyone in this society is my part of the responsibility because I saw something, I saw violence and I didn't call someone. That's something that we should learn them to react. And also for what is maybe the most important that I feel the most important for young generation, which is maybe the hardest because of the, technology and everything, it's dialogue. We need to learn new generations how to create a space for dialogue about so many tough questions. Because when we gone, those children gonna also have to face with ethnic problems, ethnic divisions in these kind of countries like Western Balkans, because it's not gonna change. Because if we change that, that means that we're gonna go into the war again.
Yes.
We cannot change Bosnia and sell like we're gonna have just Croatians or just Serbs or just Muslim in this state.
Mhm.
It's not possible and it has to stay like that. But for that, if there is a clear choice, war or dialogue, and that's it.
Yeah.
And what I really always emphasize, and I forgot a few minutes ago, patriarchy and corruption. It has to
Yes.
be said. Corruption and corruption. There is money for dialogue, and for dialogue you need money. You need people who are not angry, who has education, who has nice conditions of living, and for that we need money and not corruption as a way of how to run the country.
Do you work also with other Western Balkan countries? And do you have international support?
Yeah, we cooperate with the different countries, different organizations. Everything is based on, as I mentioned, dialogue, art, sharing this unique message of how to support younger generation and how to build some kind of space for children born out of war. It's not necessary that every single country like Kosovo have children who are willing to speak publicly. It's not necessary. It's not necessary. If you provide enough support, enough rights, it's a must. Public speaking and exposure, it's not necessary. And to be honest, there are high prices to pay when you go publicly with this kind of the story. Um, we also cooperate with the international community, like all over the world. We cooperate with so many different countries. We had our activities, for example, on Papua New Guinea. So we are really going all abroad, like from United Nations, European Union, US State Department. But you asked the question, and I'm very honest and clear, and I will be also honest and clear. I hate impact of I support impact of international communities on Western Balkans in some areas, but also I don't like that we are sometimes a playground of the big countries and international communities. I do not like that we don't have opportunity to, let's say, um, build the same standards as other countries around in European Union, because so many different countries from European Union, they have different aims in our states. And I don't want to go deeper, but I will just give you one example, very well-known example. It's nature. What about lithium? What about our rivers? What about everything? These things are interest of international communities in our states, in Bosnia, in Serbia. And when you have interests like that, that means that you're gonna directly damage the life and the health of the citizens in. So I don't like this, but it's a politics, it's a bloody game, and that's gonna always be like that.
And as you've mentioned, corruption, we've how many decades since the war, and we still all the countries are facing corruption. And where is corruption, there is not going to be development, there is not going to be democracy. And
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's we are facing with that, and it's gonna be the same if we don't provide enough education and enough equality inside of the system, because every single month you have new category of people who are discriminated and who has different needs. Before we had survivors and children and all these war groups. Now we have a completely new group of sick people, sick children without enough support in the state. So all these new groups people uh, are there because state didn't do the good job with the corruption. They just,
yeah.
uh, as a state, we make every single month new category of people who are in the need for the human rights.
You've done a lot with organization Forgotten Children of War Association. Can you mention me few things, especially when it comes to law, that you have impacted the change in your country?
Yeah, I mentioned that we had this initiative, one parent name, so we changed in some part of the state. Father's name is not obligation anymore. But the other huge achievement was the fact that together with institution and other association, we got the law for protection of civilian victims of war. Inside of that law, children born out of wartime rape are recognized as a civilian victims of war. That means that now we have a legal possibility to obtain the status of a children and also to obtain the rights. So when we talk about human rights, we talk about something that is aligned with our age. We are now between 27 and 32. Um, so we talk about free psychological support, free legal support, priority to um, finding job, priority in housing, support in support in a healthcare system, which is which is all these things are important. And now, in the process of obtaining the rights with the different needs of the different children, we are going through this process. In some cases, it's good. In some cases, it's not good in a way that it's not easy because we still have the same people in government, and it's still this process, like same path that survivor went through, because if you want to obtain the right, someone has to have money for that. And if you want to obtain the right, you have to have decision maker who is ready to listen and who is ready to support children, no matter what name they have and no matter which ethnic side they are. Um, and yeah, it's good. It's good. It's unique. It's unique opportunity for us, and it's unique example in especially in Western Balkan countries and Europe. But yeah, uh, and it's this law. It's not the best law in the world, but it is what we could build now because our needs have changed. So if we got this law when we were like 10, 11 years old, this law would be completely different story. But in this moment, that is what it is. We base our advocacy on the needs of our members and children, and that's what we advocate.
Aina, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us. And your voice is just a reminder that the silence is not an option. So you are a voice
It's
of
not.
thousands of other voiceless children. Thank you so much again. I'm really honored to have you in this episode of the Not Silent podcast. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much for space.